Hey guys, Gavin, welcome back to a brand new video, and today, I want to make one last video on NASCAR 20 of the game before it before it gets its big update. Alright, so I want to make one last video on this game before it gets its big update, and hopefully I'm not too late with this, because I want to make a video discussing my thoughts on every track on this game, except the dirt tracks and Daytona Talladega. As well, we did an entire video about the dirt tracks, and you know my thoughts there, and Daytona Talladega, they're simple. But in this video, we're only going to be showing Dover, the short tracks, and the road courses. Why? Because, well, okay, so... And I'm doing this because, well, I want to give the game dev... I know the game dev has watched at least 2 of these videos. And I want to give him, at least before the big update comes out, I want to give him my thoughts on these tracks and maybe where he can make some little adjustments. And I'm going to say this now, game dev, if you're watching this and you can't make these updates in a reasonable amount of time, and you can't edit these tracks in a reasonable amount of time, that is fine by me. Because, well, I think really the only way you could fix some of these tracks is either by making the cars faster, which you'd have to change how the cars drive, or by working on the tracks. So, okay, Daytona and Talladega are fine. They're full throttle on the track, that's fine. I'm not going to worry about giving them a grade. Pocono, give a 5 out of 10 because you don't let off the throttle at all, which does hurt the track a bit. But the only reason it's a 5 out of 10 is because even though you don't let off the throttle, the track is still very fun. Indianapolis, on the other hand, it is a 4 out of 10. You're probably not going to see a track be lower than a 4 out of 10 because, well, for that, the track would probably just have to not resemble the track at all, and then just be bad. But Indianapolis 4 out of 10 because once again, you don't let off the throttle at all, which kind of does hurt the game. So yeah, Indianapolis 4 out of 10 definitely hurts the track not having to throttle. Now super speedways, Auto Club, Charlotte, Miami, and Texas all suffer from the same exact problem to where you don't let off. I gave Charlotte and Texas just a little higher because they're a bit different than these two. Well, a bit different. It's not, I'll say it's not as big of a problem here at these two tracks as it is with Auto Club and Homestead. Auto Club and Homestead, if you've played any NASCAR game or seen any NASCAR race, you know that you're off the throttle a good bit at these tracks. Charlotte, once again, my only experience with these tracks is from the NASCAR games, meaning Heat games and Technics games and the EA games. So, and with the modern game, with this game being modern, it's pretty much mostly based off of, I guess, Heat 5. I guess is the most recent game and it's based off the same year. So, given that said, these two being full throttle is worse than these two being full throttle. So I'll give these two a 4 out of 10, and these two a 5 out of 10. Charlotte on NASCAR Heat 5, you just let off the throttle a little bit, and then you can get back on the throttle, and then you're fine. Texas is a bit different in a way because you're off the throttle a good bit at Texas, but once again, it's not nearly as much as these two tracks. So I'll give these two a 5 out of 10, and these two a 4 out of 10. So now we're gonna start this video with Dover. Alright, so we are here at Dover, and for this video, I'm going to be making about 1 or 2 laps around the track, and then giving my rating and thoughts about each track. So Dover, we've raced at before in our first 2 videos. If you remember in the first video, this is the race. This is the track where I had my infamous mishap where I accidentally blew up my car, meaning I lost the race. I'm going to do one more lap around this thing. Alright, so that is it for Dover. My final rating of Dover is a 7 out of 10. The only reason it is I'll give my reasoning first. It's pretty accurate. Definitely of the tracks, it is the most accurate so far. Definitely, I'd say one of the most fun tracks on the game. If there's any track, if I had to make a list of the tracks he got right, this is definitely top 3. Alright, but the only reason it is not an 8 out of 10, which I would have put it an 8 out of 10 or higher, because I'd say this track is a little harder than Dover is in NASCAR Heat 5, but that is the only reason. It does seem just a tad bit harder than Dover in NASCAR Heat 5, which is the only reason. But other than that, this track's very fun. It's difficult, just like Dover. So yeah, I give Dover a 7 out of 10. Alright, so here we are at Martinsville. So, alright, so I'm just gonna run a lap or two around here. I can already feel this is Martinsville. Just by driving around, I can tell this track is Martinsville. Alright. I'm just gonna wrap this up right here. Alright, so my final thoughts on Martinsville is a solid 9 out of 10. This track is perfect. Game dev, if you are watching this, do not mess with this track. Keep this track the way it is. This is perfect. It feels like Martinsville. And of the tracks I've gone through, this is the track that feels like the actual track the most. Can't say there's anything about this track that does not feel like Martinsville. So yes, 9 out of 10 for Martinsville. Alright, so it's Bristol, baby. We're here at Bristol. For me to give my rating on the Bristol Motor Speedway. Going around for my first lap as of right now. Alright, so this will be my first rated lap. I can already tell this track feels great. Alright, I'm actually going to do one more. Alright, so my final rating for Bristol is a 8 out of 10. Feels great. We'll just say you're not off the gas and you're not off the throttle and on the brakes as you would in the NASCAR Heat 5, but other than that, it feels great. The only change really to be made is maybe make it so you have to slow down a bit more, but if you don't feel like really messing with this track. It's fine as it is. Alright, so let's move on to Richmond. Alright, so here we are at Richmond International Raceway. Richmond Raceway, my bad. For this. So, Richmond is one of those tracks where I've grown out of being good at. When I was younger, I remember just being good at the track. Then again, back then I probably raced with every single assist. Now I don't. But, yeah, this track is fun, I will say that. But my final rating for Richmond is a 7 out of 10, just for the fact that Richmond is just one of those tracks where I've just had a lot of trouble with. And I'd even say I don't really know the track anymore. I really don't know how to run the track. Then again, I did do an Xfinity race in NASCAR 5, take this as you will. Take this with a grain of salt as well. I finished third. So I don't know. But yeah, I give this track 7 out of 10. But I do also think that I'm not gonna say 7 out of 10. The track's fun, I will say that. So here we are. You can see there's Rattlesnake Hill. We are here in Arizona at Phoenix. So if there's one thing you should know about me is that I don't like Phoenix. I actually hate it. This is my least favorite track in all of NASCAR. But I will say this track is fun. On this game, this track is insanely fun. It's challenging, and I think done extremely well. Well, I don't know how accurate this is. Because once again, I hate running at this track, so I just don't. But my final rating for Phoenix Motor Speedway, for Phoenix, is a 6 out of 10. It's fun, but I don't really know how realistic it is because I hate racing at this track, so I just don't. I think, yeah, maybe you could use with a little more braking, I guess. But other than that, I think the track is fine. So yeah, moving on. Alright, so here we are at North Wilkesboro, aka every NASCAR fan's baby. Everyone in the NASCAR fandom loves this track and wants it to be brought back. And fortunately, it's on. At least it's on this game, and it has been put on iRacing. But in this game, this track is actually really fun. Alright, so my final rating for North Wilkesboro is a 7 out of 10. The only reason it's not higher is because, well, we don't have enough information about these cars on this track for me to know how realistic it is. But just from how fun the track is and how just fun it is, 7 out of 10. And, real quick, I will say this, I am going to be for those of you who, I guess, don't feel like watching the video, I mean, you're already like halfway through the video, but for those of you who just want to see the rankings of every track, maybe after you watch the video, I will be putting the ratings of every track in the description below. So if you want to see all the ratings of each track, go down to the description and you'll see that. Alright, so now we're going to go to our final short track in the game. Alright, so here we are at the Disney World Speedway. Ignore that. But we're here at the Disney World Speedway now. I have actually learned that this was an actual racetrack. Not a fantasy track as I thought it was. No, this was an actual racetrack. And NASCAR raced here a couple times. And IndyCar raced here for a couple years. But yeah, since I've played this game, I've never really liked this track. I've always just found it just annoying. And that will kind of affect my rating just a little. Alright, so I have enough to make my decision. Disney World Speedway, I'll give a 4 out of 10, just because I hate the track. I can't, and I also don't know how realistic this is, because, well, modern NASCAR has never raced on this track, and this track has not been raced on in a good 20 years. So, that information, 4 out of 10. Definitely say the worst track on the game. So, now we're going to start with now we're going to move on to our 2 road courses. Alright, so here we are at the Daytona Roval. Yeah. This was a track that I was very indifferent about. That I was very hesitant on being in NASCAR. I remember way back in the day, I've made a post on Facebook, about how I thought it would be cool if NASCAR ran the road course here at Daytona. Then it actually happened last year, and I was like, okay. This is a track I was very hesitant on. But I have come around to the track, especially after seeing the really good race at the track this year, where Christopher Bell won the race. It was a great race, even though Chase Elliott did dominate most of the race. Overall, there was a lot of good racing, some really good moments, except for when Larson just lost every bit of his talent. But we don't talk about that. But yeah, this is the track that I had to warm up to, and I actually really like the track now. Alright, so my rating for the Daytona Road Course is an 8 out of 10. It is really good, really realistic. Well, I don't know how realistic it is, because once again, well, we don't have the track in NASCAR. We don't have the track in NASCAR 85, but we do have the track on Forza 7, and I remember the cars running all right there. I don't remember it feeling like this. Then again, I haven't raced that track. I haven't done that race in a good month or two, so I don't really remember. But I will give this track an 8 out of 10. It's really fun, and as far as I know, it's realistic. So yeah, we're gonna move on to our final track of the day. Alright, so here we are at the Charlotte Roval. Remember, in my last video about this game, I said that this was probably my favorite track in the game. That probably has changed, but it's definitely top 5 favorite track for me in this game. Now, I can't say how realistic this track is because, well, I don't think it's... Well, I can. I don't think this is very realistic. If I'm being honest, this does not feel like the Roval at all. That's 100% going to just hurt the score. For this track, it does not feel like the Roval at all. Definitely, I think there's maybe really only one part of this track that actually feels like the Roval, and it's the chicane back here. Other than that, this track does not feel like the actual Roval. Not one bit. But I love the track because it's really fun. So I will say, the only thing keeping this from being a 0 out of 10 is the fact I like it, so I'll give this track a 4 out of 10. The only reason this track is not a 0 out of 10 is because I find it fun. But it is not realistic. This track is not realistic at all. So that definitely needs to be fixed. It feels like a road course, but it does not feel like the Charlotte Roval the slightest bit. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this, guys. For this video, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you want to see the rankings for the tracks, I've left them in the description below. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.